As we are reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki, and we have already completed seven chapter, and today we are going to start chapter number 8. Chapter number 8 is getting started. Once again, and I think this day today is one of the good day for me. As in the morning, I have not wake up early, but when I wake up, I press up, and then I start studying our semester's books. And after that, I have attended one interview, kind of interview or meeting, you can say, in which I have filled one form that's referred by our friend from Pune, and I have given that interview with short intro and the explanation of what I have done and what I will do. And after that, I have again studied and lunch. After that, I start again reading and doing semester or gate preparations. And after that, I have do workout, and after that, I have called mom, sister, uncle, maternal uncle, and Mosi. And also, I have one meeting from IIT Hyderabad regarding our internships, and that's also 1 hour meeting. You can see that videos and what I have done today in our winter arc challenge. And right now, I am also in one meeting. One meeting. Let's leave it. That's the whole things we are going to do. And as mess is closed, so I have to order the food from Kandra Mess, and I have to eat that. That's not too much healthy, but yeah, it's fine. And I have to do breakfast ourselves. Means peanut butter and bread. That's the things. And other things I am going to do from next day. One things I was doing is I was making one PPT. If it is possible, I am going to share your screen. I hope you can see this PPT, and this is the EY Takeathon 6.2 executive summary. And yes, I haven't filled the quick introduction, and this is the team hours. And I have mentioned false detail, the problem statement, uh, describe your approach of solving problems, and plan solution is and potential benefit from your proposed solution. That's the whole things in this image in this PPT. But I was not able to complete this. So from next day I will do one slide at the last day is 19th October, but they they extend the day to 9 November, 9th November, and the things. And yeah, and thanks to Kumar Priyansu who has given me this book to read it and gain some knowledge, financial knowledge. As I am seeing, I have spent 10 means how much money means approx the 46,000 in means 46,000 come in my account from last means after August, September, October. In last 3 months, I have in my account 46,000 came, and where I have spent it, I have to check it. But as per my memory, I have sent to my family members, means my sisters and all, and some things I have done, and I also misused. As you can say, I will check out all those things. If I have done, if I am doing any mistakes, then surely I remember these books. I respect for respect these books. I will do invest in right place. So okay, guys. So let's start chapter number 8, getting started. There is gold everywhere. Most people are not trained to see it. Yeah. In Jharkhand, you can say gold is black diamond, yeah, black gold. Gold is coal. In Jharkhand, coal is everywhere. Means in Jharia, in Badkagaon, and everywhere we can find coal. And this you can consider it as gold for Jharkhandi. I could say acquiring wealth as easy. I wish I could say acquiring wealth was easy for me, but it was not. So, in response to the question, how do I start? I offer the thoughts process I go through on a day to day basis. It really is easy to find great deals. I promise you that I promise you that it's just like riding a bike. After a little wobbling, after a after a re- after a little wobbling, it's a piece of cake. But when it's come to money, it takes determinations to get through the wobbling. That's a personal thing. To find $1 million deals of a lifetime require us to call on our financial genius. I believe that each of us has a financial genius within us. The problem is that our financial genius lies asleep, waiting to be called upon. It lies asleep because our culture has educated us into believing that the love of money is the root of all evil. It, it has encouraged us to learn a profession so we can work for money, but failed to teach us how to have money work for us. I thought it taught us not to worry about your financial future because our company or the government would take care of us when our working days are over. However, it is our children educated in the same school system who will end up paying for this absence of financial education. The message is still to work hard, earn money, and spend it. And when we run short, we can always borrow more. Unfortunately, 90% of the Western world subscribe to the above dogma simply because it's easier to find a job and work for money. Once again, guys, I have to check everything is fine or not. Okay, everything is fine. Let's see. Okay, okay. Unfortunately, 90% of the Western world subscribe to be the above dogma simply because it's easier to find a job and work for money. If you are not one of the masses, I offer you the following 10 steps to awaken your financial genius. I simply offer you the step I have personally followed. If you want to follow some of them, great. If you don't, make up your own. Your financial genius is smart enough to develop its own list. While in Peru, I asked a gold miner of 45 years how he was so confident about finding a gold mine. He replied, there is gold everywhere. Most people are not trained to see it. And I would say that it's true. In real estate, I can go out and in a day come up with four or five great potential deals, while the average person will go out and find nothing. Even looking in the same neighborhood, the reason is that they have not taken the time to develop their financial genius. I offer you the following 10 steps as a process to develop your God given powers over which only you have control. First, find a first find a reason greater than reality, the power of spirit. Spirit. Find a reason greater than reality, the power of spirit. Okay. If you ask most people if they would like to be rich or financially free, they would say yes. But then reality sets in. The road seems to The road seems too long with no the road seems too long with too many hills to climb. It's easier to just work for money and hand the excess over your work broker. It's easier to just work for money and hand the excess over to your broker. I once met a young woman who had dreams of swimming for the US Olympic team. The reality was that she had to get up every morning at 4 o'clock to swim for 3 hours before going to a school. She did not party with her friends on Saturday night. She had to study and keep her grades up, just like everyone else. When I asked her what fueled her superhuman ambition and sacrifice, she simply said, I do it for myself and the people I love. It's love that gets me over the hurdle and sacrifice. A reason or a reason or a purpose is a combination of wants and don't wants. When people ask me what my reason for wanting to be rich is, I tell them that I tell them that it is a combination of deep emotional wants and don't wants. I will list a few first. The don't wants for the creates the wants. Okay, okay. I will list a few first. The don't wants for the create the wants. I don't want to work all my life. I don't want what my parents aspired for, which was job security and a house in the suburbs. I don't like being an employee. Employee. I hated that my dad always missed my football games because he was so busy working on his career. I hated it when my dad worked hard all his life and the government took most of what he worked for at his death. He could not even pass on what he worked so hard for when he died. The rich don't do that. The rich don't do that. They work hard and pass it on their children. No, the wants. I want to be free or to travel the world and live in the lifestyle I love. I want to be free to travel the world and live in the lifestyle I love. I want to be young when I do this. I want to simply be free. I want control over my time and my life. I want money to work for me. Those are my deep seated emotion region. Those are my deep seated emotional regions. What are you? What are yours? If they are not strong enough, then the reality of the world ahead may be greater than your regions. I have lost money and been set back many times, but it was the deep emotional region that kept me ascend. But it was the deep emotional region that kept me standing up and going forward. I wanted to be free by age 40, but it took me until I was 47 with many learning experience along the way. As I said, I wish I could say it was easy. It wasn't. But it wasn't hard either. But it wasn't that hard either. I have learned that without a strong reason or purpose, anything in lab is hard. Okay. If you do if you don't have a strong reason, there is no sense reading further. I have a strong reason to become rich. I have a strong reason to crack great exam. I have a strong reason to invest money in the stock market, ETF, and gold. If you don't have a strong reason, there is no sense reading further. It will sound like too much work. Second, make daily choices. The power of choice. Choice is the main reason people want to live in a free country. We want the power to choose. Financially, with every dollar we get in our hands, we hold the power to choose our future, to be rich, poor, or middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we are. Poor people simply have poor spending habits. The benefits I had as a boy was that I loved playing Monopoly constantly. Nobody told me Monopoly was only for kids. So I just kept playing the game as an adult. I also had a rich dad who pointed out to me the difference between an assets and a liability. So a long time ago, as a little boy, I chose to be rich, and I knew that all I had to do was learn to acquire assets and real assets. My best friend Mike and an asset column handed to me, but he still had to choose to learn to keep it. Many rich families lose their assets in the next generation simply because there was no one trained to be good steward over their assets. Most people choose not to be rich. For 90% of the population, being rich is too much of a hassle. So they invent saying that go. I'm not interested in money. I will never be rich. I don't I don't have to worry. I am still young. When I when I make some money, then I will think about my future. My husband, my wives handles the finance. The problem with those statements is that they rob the person who choose to think such thoughts of two things. One is time, which is most precious asset. The second is learning. Having no money should not be an excuse to, to not learn. But that is a choice we all make daily. The choice of what we do with our time, our money, and what we put in our head. That is the power of choice. All of us have choice. I just choose to be rich, and I make the choice every day. First in education. In reality, invest first in education. In reality, the only real assets you have is your mind. The most powerful tool we have dominion over. Each of us has the choice of what we put in our brain once we are old enough. You can watch TV, read golf magazines, or go to ceramic classes or a class on financial planning. You choose. Most people simply buy investments rather than first investing in learning about investing. A friend of mine recently had her apartment burglarized, burglarized, burglarized. The thieves took her electronics and left all the books. And we all have the same choice. 90% of the population buys TV set and only about 10% buy business books. So what do I do? I go to seminars. I like it when they are at least 2 days long because I like to immerse myself in a subject. In 1973, I was watching this guy on TV who was advertising a 3 day seminar on how to buy real estate for nothing down. I have spent 385,000 $385, and that course has made me that at least $2 million, if not more. But more importantly, it bought me life. I don't have to work for the rest of my life because of that one course. I go to at least two such courses every year. I love CDs and audiobooks. The reason I can easily review what I just heard. I was listening to an investor say something I completely disagreed with instead of becoming arrogant and critical. I simply listened to that 5 minute stretch at least 20 times, maybe more. But suddenly, by keeping my mind open, I understood why he said what he said. It was like magic. I felt like I had a window into the mind of one of the greatest investors of our time. I gained tremendous insight into the vast resource of his education and experience. The net result, I still have the old way I used to think, and I know have a new way of looking at same problem or situation. I have two ways to analyze a problem or trend, and that is priceless. Today, I often say, how would Donald Trump do this, or a Warren Buffett, or George Soros? The only way I can access their vast mental power is to be humble enough to read or listen to what they have to say. Arrogant or a critical or often people with low self-esteem who are afraid of taking risks. That's because if you learn something new, you are you are then required to make mistakes in order to fully understand what you have learned. If you have read this far, arrogance is not one of your problems. Arrogant people rarely read or listen to experts. Why should they? They are the center of the universe. There are so many intelligent people who argue or defend when a new idea clashes with the way they think. In this case, their so-called intelligence combined with arrogance equal ignorance. Each of us knows well, each of us knows people who are highly educated or believe they are smart, but their balance sheet paints a different picture. A truly intelligent persons welcome new ideas, for new ideas can aid to the synergy of other accumulated ideas. Listening is more important than talking. If that were not true, God would not God would not have given us 2 years and the only one more. Too many people think with their mouth instead of listening in order to absorb new ideas and possibilities. They argue instead of asking questions. I take a long view on my wealth. I don't scrap to the get rich quick mentally most lottery player or casino gamblers have. I may go in and out of stocks, but I am long on education. If you want to fly an airplane, I advise taking a lesson first. I am always shocked at people who buy stocks or real estate but never invest in their greatest asset, their mind. Just because you bought a house or two does not make you an expert at real estate. Second, choose friends carefully, the power of association. First of all, I don't choose my friends by their financial statement. I have friends who have actually taken a vow of poverty as well as friends who earn millions every year. The point is that I learn from all of them. Now, I will admit that there are people I have actually sought out because they had money, but I was not after their money. I was seeking their knowledge. In some cases, these people who had money have become dear friends. I have noticed that my friends with money talk about money. They don't do it to brag. They are interested in the subject, so I learn from them and they learn from me. My friends who are in dire financial state do not like talking about money, business, or investing. They often think it rude or unintellectually, so I also learn from my friends who struggle financially. I find out what not to do. I have several friends who have generated over $1 billion in their short lives. I have several friends who have generated over $1 million in their lifetime. The three of them reports the same phenomenon. Their friends who have no money have never come to them to ask them how they did it, but they do come asking for one of two things or both, a loan or a job. Warning: those don't listen to poor or pretend people. I have such friends, and while I love them dearly, they are the chicken light little of life. To them, when it comes to money, especially investments, it's always the sky is falling. The sky is falling. They can always tell you why something won't work. The problem is that people listen to them. But people who blindly accept doom and gloom information are also chicken littles. As that old saying goes, birds of feather flock together. Means don't listen the poor people who say investment is good or not good like that. If you watch business channel on TV, they often have a panel of so-called expert. One expert will say the market is going to crash, another will say it going to boom. If you are smarter, you listen to both. Keep your mind open because both have valid points. Unfortunately, most poor people listen to chicken little. I have had I have I have had many close friends try to talk me out of a deal or an investment. Not long ago, a friend told me he was excited because he found a 6% certificate of deposit. I told him I earned 16% from the state government. The next day, he sent me an article about why my investment was dangerous. I have received 16% for years. now, and he has still received 6%. I would say that one of the hardest things about wealth building is to be true to yourself and to be willing to not go along with crowd. This is because in the market it is usually the crowd that shows up late that is slow-treated. If a great deals is one of the front page, it's too late in most instances. Look for a new deal. As we used to say as surfers, there is always another wave. People who hurry and catch a wave late usually are the one who wipe out. A smart investors don't time the market. If they miss a wave, they search for the next one and get themselves in position. This is hard for most investors because buying that is not popular in pretending. Timid investors are like ship going along with the crowd, or their greed gets them in when wise investors have already taken their profits and moved on. Wise investors buy investments when it's not popular. They know their profits are made when they buy, not when they sell. The way they wait patiently, as I said, they don't time the market, just like a surfer. They get in position for the next big swell. It's all insider trading. There are forms of investors trading that are illegal, and there are forms of investors insider trading that are legal. But either way, it's insider trading. The only distinct is how far away from the inside are you. The reason you want to have rich friends is because that is where the money is made. It's made on information. You want to hear about the next boom? Get in and get out before the next burst. I'm not saying do it illegally, but the sooner you know, the better you chance uh, for profits with minimal risk. That is what friends are for, and that is financially intelligence. Four, master a formula and then learn a new one. The power of learning quickly. In order to make bread, every baker follow a recipe, even if it's only held in their head. The same is true for making money. Most of us have heard the saying, "You are what you are it." You are what it. I have a different slant. I say you become what you study. In other words, be careful what you learn because your mind is so powerful that it becomes what you put in your head. For example, if you study cooking, you then tend to cook. If you don't want to be a cook anymore, then you need to study something else. When it's come to money, the masses generally have one basic formula they learned in a school, and it's this: work for money. The predominant formula I see in the world is that every day millions of people gets up, go to work, earn money, pay bills, balance checkbooks, buy some mutual funds, and go back to work. That is the basic formula or recipe. If you tried of what you are doing or you are not taking enough, it's simply a case of changing the formula via which you make money. Years ago, when I was 26, I took a weekend class called How to Buy Real Estate from Closers. I learned a formula. The next trick was to have a discipline to actually put into actions what I had learned. That is where most people stop. For 3 years while working for Xerox, I spent my spare time learning to master the art of buying foreclosures. I have made several million dollars using that formula. So after I mastered that formula, I went in search of other formulas. For many of the classes, I did not directly use the formula I learned, but I always learned something new. I have attended classes designed for derivative traders, commodity, commodity option traders, and collegists. I was way out of my league. Being in a room full of people with doctorates in nuclear physics and space science. Yet I learned a lot that made my stocks and real estate investing more meaningful and lucrative. Most ju- most junior colleges and community colleges have classes on financial planning and buying traditional investments. They are good place to start, but I always search for a faster formula. That is why on a fairly regular basis that is why on a fairly regular basis I make more in a day than many people will make in a their lifetime. Another sad note, I in today in today's fast changing world, it's not so much what you know anymore that counts because often what you know is old. It is how fast you learn. That is a skill is priceless. It's priceless is in finding faster formulas recipe. If you will for making dough. Working hard for money is an old formula born in the day of can win. Fifth, pay yourself first. The power of self-discipline. Okay, fifth one. If you cannot get control of yourself, do not try to get rich. It makes no sense to invest, make money, and blow it. It is the lack of self discipline that causes most lottery winners to go broke soon after winning millions. It is that lack of self discipline that causes people who get a rise to immediately go out and buy a new car or take a cruise. It is difficult to say which of the 10 steps is the most important, but of all the steps, this steps is probably the most difficult to master if it is not already a part of your makeup. I would venture to say that personal self-discipline is the number one delineating factor between the rich and the poor and the middle class. Simply put, people who have low self-esteem and low tolerance for financial pressure can never be rich. As I have said, a lesson learned from my rich dad was that the world will push you around. The world pushes people around not because other people are bullies, but because the individual lack internal control and discipline. People who lack internal fortitude often become victims of those who have self-discipline. In the in the entrepreneur classes I teach, I constantly remind people to not focus on their product, service, or widget, 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 but to focus on developing management skills. The three most important management skills skills necessary to start your own business are management of cash flow, people, personal time. I would say the skills to manage these three apply to anything, not just entrepreneurs. The three matters in the way you live your lives as an individual, or as part of a family, a business, a charitable organization, a city, or a nation. Each of these skills is enhanced by the mastery of self-discipline. I don't take this I don't take the saying pay yourself first lightly. The statement pay yourself first comes from George Clason's books, The Richest Man in Babylon. Millions of the copy have been sold, but while millions of people fairly repeat that powerful statement, a few people, a few follow the advice. As I said, financial literacy allows one to read number and number tell the story. By looking at a person's income statement and balance sheet, I can rapidly say if people who spot the words pay yourself first actually practice what they preach. A picture is worth 1,000 words. So let's review the financial statement of people who pay themselves first against someone who doesn't. Study the diagram and see if you can pick up some distinction. Again, it has to do with understanding cash flow, which tells the story. Most people look at the number and miss the story. People who pay themselves first job, salary, income come, then go to the asset, then expense, then income. That's it. Job, after that income or salary, then it's go to balance sheet means assets columns, and then come back to the expenses and all. Do you see it? The diagram reflects the actions of individuals who choose to pay themselves first. Each month, the allocated money to their asset column before they pay their monthly expenses. Although millions of people Although millions of people have read Colossians books and understand the word pay yourself first, in reality they pay themselves last. No, now I can hear the halls from those of you who sincerely believe in paying your bills first, and I can hear all the responsible people who pay their bills on time. I am not saying it's irresponsible and pay your bills and not pay your bills. I am not saying I'm not saying be irresponsible and not paying your bills. And I'm saying I do what the books say, which is pay yourself first. And the previous diagram is the correct accounting picture of what the action. People who pay everyone else first. First income come, go to the expense and they're khatam. It's like job, uh, job, income, expenses, and money is cut. Means money is spended over. If you can truly begin to understand the power of cash flow, okay, cash flow, you will soon realize that is wrong with the previous diagram, or why 90% of the people work hard all their lives and need government support like social security, and when they are no longer able to work. Kim and I have had many bookkeeper, accountants, and bankers who have made a major problem with this way of looking at pay yourself first. The reason is that they the reason is that these financial professionals actually do what the masses do. They pay themselves last. There was been There have been times in my life when, for whatever reason, cash flow was far less than my bills. I have still paid myself first. My accountant and bookkeepers screamed in panic. There are going to come after you. The IRS is going to put you in a jail. You are going to ruin your credit rating. They will cut off the electricity. I still paid myself first. Why? You ask. Because that's what the story. The richest man is Babylon was all about the power of self discipline and the power of internal fortitude. As my rich dad taught me the first month I worked for him. Most people allow the world to push them around. A bill collector calls and you pay or else. A sales clerk say, "Oh, just put it on your charged card." Your real estate agent tell us, "Go ahead." The government allows you a tax deductions on your home. That is what the book is really about. Having the guts to go against the tide and get rich. You may not be weak, but when it's come to money, many people get wimpy. I'm not saying be irresponsible. The reason I don't have a high credit card debt and dotted debt is because I pay myself first. The reason I minimize my income is because I don't want to pay it to government. What That is why my income comes from my asset column through a Nevada corporation. If I work for money, the government take it. Although I pay my bills per, Although I pay my bills last, I am financially astute enough to not get into a tough financial situation. I don't lack customer debt. I actually have liabilities that are higher than 99% of the population, but I don't pay for them. Other people pay for my liabilities. There are called tenants. So, rule number one is paying yourself first. Don't get into consumer debt in the first place. Although I pay my bills last, I set it up to have only small, unimportant bills that are due. When I occasion, when I occasionally when I occasionally come up short, I still pay myself first. I let the creditors and even the government screams. I lack I lack it when they get tough. Why? Because those guys do me a favor. They inspire me to go out and create more money. So I pay myself first, invest the money, and let the creditors L. I generally pay them right away anyway. Kim and I have excellent credit. We just don't cave into pressures and spend our savings or liquidate the stocks to pay for customer debt, 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 debt. Uh, that is not too financially intelligent. So from next day, it's too big. Okay, I'm not completing fifth point. From next day, we'll complete fifth point and again 6 and 10 points in this chapter. So we'll complete next day. And okay, guys, bye bye. Good night. See you next day with another means with another energy, full energy, and happy Dhanteras. As I have to wish yesterday, but yeah, happy Dhanteras. Bye bye. Good night.